I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. Republicans, independents have made a mass exodus away from the extremism, the radicalism of these MAGA Republicans. The new Republican Party is the extremist MAGA Republican Party. And we at MeidasTouch did a tweet a few weeks back where we said the following: normal Republicans are being pushed out of the GOP in droves. They are being labeled rhinos and traitors by a fascist MAGA movement that bears no relation to conservatism. Many of these Republicans will be voting blue. Do you have a similar story? Share it with us. And we got thousands upon thousands of responses to that tweet. So we decided to make a YouTube video about it, which was viewed hundreds and thousands of times. And we asked our YouTube audience if this is something that you or a friend or a family member has experienced, leaving the MAGA Republican Party because of their dastardly extremism and radicalism. Share the story with us. That YouTube video was viewed hundreds of thousands of times, and we received thousands of comments as well of people sharing these heartwarming comments about leaving the extremist MAGA Republican Party because of their hate, their idolization, literally, of someone who they refer to as the Orange Jesus, their cult leader, the strangeness, the bizarreness, the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Boberts and the Gomerts and the Gates and the Abbotts and the incompetence and the stealing of our top secret compartmented information, just stealing our records and siding with our enemies like Putin and Kim Jong-un. And it's just enough. That's the most un-American types of policies out there. And so we did a part two. And part two, we said, share your story, share your comments. And again, thousands of comments viewed hundreds of thousands of times. And now I want to share some of those stories we heard again in response to part two. This is now part three of our continuing series of Republicans and independents making this mass exodus from the MAGA Republican extremism. And I want to ask you to do the same. If you have a story like this, or you have a friend who has a story like this, or a family member, or you know someone who has a story like this, please share it in these comments and spread this video. It's important that people who once identified with the Republican Party, who say this MAGA extremism is not for them, it is vital that they know there is an off-ramp, that there is a movement out there of compassion, of competence, of pro-democracy, of sanity, of reasonableness. That is what we espouse here in the MeidasTouch movement. As being a member of the Meidas Mighty, that is what we care about most. Let's find practical, pragmatic solutions to our nation's problems, our community's problems, and let's have leadership that acts like adults at a very bare minimum. Let me share with you some of these incredible stories. Donna Williams writes, "My dad has been a Republican his entire life. We live in Texas, and he's always been a reliable voter. Now he's disgusted with the Republican Party and is moving independent after 77 years. He's learning more about Beto O'Rourke and is planning to vote for him as well. I never thought I'd see it." Next, we have someone who wrote, "I was a lifelong independent. I have now joined the Democratic Party and will never vote for a Republican again. Actually, I'm grateful that Donald Trump exposed the Republicans for who they really are." Dina Stevenson writes, My mother, who is 100 years old and a lifelong Republican, has now registered as a Democrat. Trump's lies, criminality, and fascism have driven her to the party that really represents her core values of truth and mutual respect and love for her country and her fellow man. Thank you, MeidasTouch, for giving us a place to share our true democratic values. You give us hope. No, thank you, Dina. You and your mother give us hope. Sunshine in Arizona writes, my son left the Republican Party because of Trump. He's an independent who votes blue, and I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him too. Maura White writes, I left the Republican Party even before January 6th, after being a lifelong Republican. Watching how Trump botched the pandemic and seeing so many conspiracies, I was done. You know, in addition to the conspiracies, Maura, it seems that the MAGA Republicans were pro-pandemic. They were cheering on the death and continue to do so today. Robin Ellis McKee writes, my 102-year-old mother in Oklahoma changed her party affiliation from Republican to Democrat last year and was happy to vote for Joe Biden in the last presidential election. In 2016, she said that she had to stay alive 4 more years to vote Trump out, and she did. Vic writes, I grew up a Democrat in an all-Republican family. After years of constantly being shut down during arguments over policy and government disagreements, my family now hears me out. And I think that has to do with the radical crap that the Republican Party stands for now. They actually have come to agree with me on a lot of issues. It's amazing and encouraging. My whole family is going blue. Trisha Talman writes, my mom, a Republican who supported Trump, told me yesterday, Trump doesn't matter anymore. LOL. And these are just a handful of the thousands of responses we got. And so now I ask you, the viewer of this video, part 3 of our series, to share your stories, share your comments, and thereafter, share this video with anyone who still may be on the fence. Former Republicans, a current Republican who you think wants a way out, an independent voter who is not sure which way to go. It's important that we fight back and push back against this horrible mischaracterization and disinformation that's been spread on Fox and through these other radical extremist right-wing channels to try to lie about who this pro-democracy movement is that we all fight for here at the MeidasTouch Network, at the MeidasTouch movement. It is vital that we tell people that what we support are issues that matter to you. We want to fight not for PR stunts and trying to kidnap asylum seekers who are leaving dictatorships and authoritarian locations like Venezuela to come to a better life here, and then you have Republican governors kidnap them or bring them to other states and turn it into a joke. These are human beings that we're talking about. You know, we're not about this right-wing radical extremist cosplay where instead of trying to address issues like responsible gun ownership. Look, responsible gun owners who I know, almost every responsible gun owner I know wants other people to be responsible. As far as I know, all of the gun owners I know who, again, want to be responsible, they don't think it makes sense to have an 18-year-old with literally zero training and zero hunting background or zero experience and zero credit be able on their 18th birthday to get an AR-15. Heck, our military requires training with the military version of the AR-15, which is a weapon of war. They require training. Why wouldn't we require the same civilian training that exists in the military? You know, I had on the MeidasTouch podcast Adrian Fontes, who's running for Arizona Secretary of State. He trained people in the military of how to use those weapons of war in the military. It was a big book he showed us. And he said, this is how I had to train our military. They were fine being trained. Why wouldn't we want to have responsible gun ownership with civilians? How does that make sense? And instead, we have these Republican governors doing these cosplay videos of themselves holding AR-15s and running around in schools acting like they're going to be the ones who go after the terrorist school shooters. What is that solving? What are you doing? And then it's not fear-mongering to say the Republicans are saying that they want to privatize Social Security. They want to remove Social Security. They want to get rid of Medicare. They've said these things. They want to raise prescription drug prices. They voted against lowering prescription drug prices, where all Democrats did. These MAGA extremist Republicans, want themselves instead of the doctors and women to make the choice over their body. These Republicans want to be the ones who make the choice, and they've made the choice already. They're saying in no case can a woman ever seek abortion care, not in cases of rape or incest or where a woman may die by not getting the care she needs. These MAGA Republicans, who are also hypocritical, and we see what they do in their private life, these are the people who want to make these decisions for you. That's taking away freedom. That's not fighting for freedom. Their policy with COVID. Look, we could have an intellectual discussion about what are the right policies and procedures of how we balance the needs of businesses to stay in business versus the need to be safe and secure and make sure our kids and our family is safe. But these MAGA Republicans want to deny the very existence of the pandemic, and they pretend that it's not real, and they ask to lock up our chief scientists because the chief scientists are providing medical information that makes their cult leader look weak and incorrect. These MAGA Republicans want to tell you who you can marry and who you can love and can't love. They want to take away the right to contraception. They want to remove the separations of church and state. These are the policies they talk about and espouse. Those policies are taking away our freedoms. And what do we support at the pro-democracy side? Well, we support our traditional allies against authoritarian regimes abroad, like NATO. We support building our infrastructure and focusing on truly policies that will benefit American workers. We want to increase and improve working conditions, increase wages for workers. We want to make education cheap and as free as it can be and as accessible as it can be so all Americans have a fair shot. We want to focus on middle up economics, not trickle down economics. We want to invest in workers. And if you're watching this video, I'm pretty confident that, like me, you're not a billionaire, right? And why would we espouse policies that make billionaires, give them the handouts? Why is that something that is a policy that we should espouse? Why not empower and focus on how we make a sustainable middle class again so people can afford houses, they can be prideful in their work, they can earn the wage that they deserve, they can get the health care that they deserve. We can lower the costs on prescription drugs. We can lower the cost on things like insulin. And while the MAGA Republicans are fist bumping because they're blocking bills like the PACT Act, which would provide health care to our veterans who return after exposure to toxic burn pits. They're celebrating that. We're figuring out how can we help our veterans get the health care that they need. And we're talking about building American jobs here, right? That's the CHIPS Act. Democrats have spearheaded a bill that would make the semiconductor industry an American industry once again. With all those jobs being shipped overseas, let's focus on manufacturing semiconductors here. Let's build manufacturing jobs here. Let's empower unions here. Let's improve working conditions here. Let's improve the leave for parents and make raising a child easier and more convenient here in the United States. Those are the issues, not this weird fascist cosplay or the MAGA Republicans who went in the supermarket and spit on food, or they go around after school shootings and they mock the victims, the surviving victims of school shootings, and call them crisis actors. That's what these people call themselves conservative. They support the insurrection and the overthrow of our democracy. They spread lies about the election to try to hoist up someone they call Orange Jesus. That's what they view as conservative. That is not conservative. And so when I read these comments and I see people leaving MAGA Republican Party, there's an off-ramp. If you're watching this and you are a former MAGA Republican, I hope you see that there is a common sense solution out there of people who are not the caricature that MAGA Republicans project and try to portray the pro-democracy movement as. This is a movement and a community of love, warmth. We care deeply about our country. We want leaders who are smart, who do the right thing and truly fight for this country, and not these cosplay PR stunts. That's what this is about. Make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. We are on our way to 1 million subs thanks to your support. So hit the subscribe button. Hitting the subscribe button is 100% free. And if you want to help grow this independent media channel, I always get asked, what can I do to help grow this? Well, no matter where you are living, whether it's here in the United States or abroad, you can help grow this channel, because we're not funded by any millionaire or billionaire and outside investors at all. We are powered by democracy and fueled by you. So if you want to help out, go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. There's a number of membership tiers there with different exclusive benefits. Pick one that you think best fits you and help grow this independent media channel. I'm so appreciative. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Until next time.
This November is Rowvember. MeidasTouch just released its brand new collection of Rowvember t-shirts and pins to let the country know what's at stake this upcoming midterm election. Go to store.MeidasTouch.com to grab yours. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.